sun is numb, the Keurig's clean, your dog is dead, it's a Ponzi screen, Ponzi screen, Ponzi screen, because it's just something to do.
What, really? It's not that bad. I mean, it's hot. I'm not gonna lie to you. All right, it's hot outside, but it's like I enjoyed it. It's nice. It's nice. It's even less humid than you might think. It's way better than if it was 85 degrees and it just rained. Like it's great right now. You know.
What's the worst conditions to do delivery in, Danny?
Dude, snow's bad. I don't like snow. Snow's a good one. It's really hard to manage. There's only a couple bikes that you can really ride and are built for snow.
Yeah.
They're actually those really big fat tire bikes.
Yeah.
The ones that are like this big. Those are specifically designed to ride on like sand and snow.
Do you ever get those snow tires for bikes?
No, I've never tried them. And honestly, the ones that have like little bits of metal in it, like actual metal to grip the ground, those are like downhill tires, and they're used for when you're literally going down like a German mountain at like 60 miles per hour on a downhill bike. They're really cool. They're really cool tires, but I've never tried them. But yeah, anything slippery fucking sucks. I mean, I had a very interesting experience a couple days ago. It was probably like a week ago now, which was just like, it wasn't a bad weather experience. It was just sort of like, oh, look, you're totally and completely at the will of like, or rather the morality of like who you're working for, and you have no means of like disputing anything. Like I was delivering in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, and I picked something up from not Van Leeuwen, from Milk Bar. Milk Bar was it? I don't know why I forgot that for a second. And Milk Bar is like this it's this fun and fancy, you know, like sundae and milkshake. Ooh, they're real. I mean, they'll knock you on your ass if you're lactose intolerant.
Danny, I got an idea for a restaurant. Okay, I got an idea. All right.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
This is perfect for the kids on the Tinder date. Okay, you meet me at this restaurant, and this is the product. Okay, we take cereal milk. You know what you love? Cereal milk. Remember when you used to watch Gummy Bears? You're a little kid. You've eaten all the cereal, but there's still the milk left, and it's got it's been infused. You know how vodka is sometimes infused with onions or pickle juice, some sort of flavor? We've infused this whole milk, 2% with Rice Krispie powder.
Yes. Yeah.
We turn that. We take birthday cake and we mash it into that milk.
Yes.
And we turn that into a thick boy milkshake.
Milk Bar just reminds me of like the creators of the Taco Bell menu, but like twice the price, basically.
Yeah, you just gave me the beautiful visual of just like they have the facade in the front where it's like kind of cool and hip, and there's like somebody with like a septum piercing giving you a milkshake, but in the background there's like a 90-year-old grandmother from Romania, and she's in one of those wine grape stomping boxes, but she's just stomping the Captain Crunch into the milk. And all the day I stomp the milk. You know, just like inadvertently making heavy cream. Yeah, so I picked up like a quart, a pint, like a little thing of ice cream from there. Had to have cost like $10
minimum. This is before the app charges.
Yeah. The rest assured, this person is spending in the range of $15 after everything is said and done. And I saw it, and it was one of those things where you had like a premonition where you're just sort of like, this is gonna be dumb. This is gonna be dumb as hell. This is gonna be really stupid.
Why was it dumb? What like made that feeling for you?
It was dumb because like once you go west of a certain point in Williamsburg, usually past Berry Street or Wythe Street, you get into the newly developed Kent Avenue area, which is just a whole street full of those like concrete masses of buildings that are exclusively filled with like, you know, people with 4 passports who are worth more than you or I will be ever worth in our lives several times over.
Could we call them fintech oligarchs?
Yeah. Fintech oligarchs for sure. Their children will live in those as well. And
that whole neighborhood just looks like this setting for a Black Mirror episode.
Yeah, it's got heavy Black Mirror vibes. Well, it's especially so because like the inside of those buildings, no cell service. You cannot. There's no fucking 4G inside those things. And I think it's because they're just made of fucking concrete. Like you can't, like I'll try to be like, oh, delivery completed, and it won't go through until I'm outside of the building. You know, it's super stupid.
Now, Danny, I'm already having a panic attack because you're telling me you're going to deliver a highly perishable, thick, sour milk product in 90-degree weather.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, it's hot as hell. I mean, like, look, I don't even mean to toot my own horn. I can ride a bicycle fast. I know how to get places quickly.
He can.
But like, I get to the place and like, sure enough, it's like one of those style buildings, and you know, they won't let you past the fucking main areas of a lot of these buildings because of coronavirus. They're just like, yeah, just put it on the table there. And I'm like looking at it, and I'm just sort of like, this shit's gonna get fucked up. Like this is gonna be this shit's gonna melt, and then I'm gonna have to hear about it. And I even make a point of never answering the phone when I'm working if it comes from like a 415 number, which is San Francisco, because it means it's somebody from the headquarters of that app, or it's being routed through their like phone number and on an anonymization process, you know. And like later on, I get back and I'm looking through like my earnings detail, and it just shows like, oh, subtract $3, and I'm just sort of like, that's the fucking tip that I was supposed to get. God damn it! And it's all just because they took away my tip, and it was just the dumbest shit in the world because it's like the act in itself is almost seems innocent enough. But then, like, you dig into the process of, like, what led to that, which is, like, it means that you are, like, a person who, like, lives in Williamsburg, like, Williamsburg. So you have thousands of dollars at your disposal, at the very least going into your rent, you know? And you're ordering off of one of these apps that delivers, which means that you also have a little bit of money to throw around there, and you're living at one of these newfangled buildings, which means you have even more money. Because you know, there's like the Puerto Rican community who lives on like South First or Second, right around like 4th Avenue. There's still like a nice enclave of OGs over there and stuff, you know. So it's not everybody in Williamsburg.
The Jewish hood is also there.
Yes.
All the Jews living in NYCHA over there.
And the old Italian neighborhood off of Graham Avenue, which if you watch Donnie Brasco, that's where that all takes place.
Absolutely. So yeah, it just and then realizing that like and then there's the other thing where it's just like, dude, people love getting their food. People love eating and getting food. I honestly I've done 1,600 deliveries, and I've gotten 3 people who are angry maybe to see me, you know? So people, whenever I knock on their door, they're just like, thank you. And then like, that's it, you know, it's great. So to me, as a working person, if you are so negligent that you're just like, I'm not even thinking about this $15 that I spent on like a small thing of ice cream, and I'm just going to let it go. And then, I fucked up and forgot to get it because I live in a building where coronavirus stuff happens, and
they don't have cell service, right? Like,
say what?
And the fact that there's no cell service, I mean, that makes a big difference in your ability to like contact them, let them know.
Yeah, and I just like, and their first instinct is just sort of like, well, I'm taking the tip away. Because it didn't get delivered correctly, and it's just sort of like, dude, you're just going to die so fast when the apocalypse happens. It's just like you're going to be first wave gone. You have nothing to the table. You bring nothing to the table. All you can do is, can I speak to your manager? You know. I don't mean to imply that this was like a woman or anything like that. I'm just speaking broadly too. You know,
I think can I speak to your manager it could be a unisex. I think it could be a universally douchey thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know plenty of strong men of color who have asked to speak to the manager. You know, Gabe Pacheco being one of them. You know, constantly wanting to speak to managers.
I am so upset with all of the impulse purchases that I've made, clicking on Instagram advertisements for cheap floral shirts and accessories like ring lights for my laptop, and I order these things from companies that were thrown together day before yesterday that outsource all of their labor to factories in China. Then I have to wait 2.5 months to get these items. And when I look at the tracking numbers, they send me, it says the item is in a tanker on its way from China right now. None of this is personal. This is all fiction, baby.
Xi Jinping is not getting his tip. I'll just say that.
Yeah. No. Dude, I think we might have even mentioned it on the podcast once, where it's like you can tell those companies because when they do their Instagram ads, they always speed up things. Like their whole thing is, we are not going to make this an Instagram story. We are going to make this under a minute so we can show all the stuff. So the minute you scroll through and you see an ad where it's like somebody doing something real fast, it means that they told the editor, you speed this up by 2 or 3 times so people can see it. But all that tells me is like you're just trying to unload plastic crap, like off on me. Like that's all you're trying to do, you know. So like if you see an Instagram ad where they're taking their time, you know, they're showing you a close up of a shoe or whatever. It means that means made in the USA, brother. That's what that means.
Yes.
Yeah, bespoke as hell. I might even say.
Instagram is going to become basically like their big pivot is to become like the next Etsy. They are trying to pivot Instagram to become some sort of like bespoke Amazon or something like that, which is exciting because I always believed in it so much as a product, just as serving social justice and being just my favorite place to go and feel good about myself. For me to just feel like recognize parties I wasn't invited to, that sort of stuff is really, really just inspiring for me.
Those guys, they want to monetize and quantify everything, and it's just this debate that I've been having with myself mostly about the effectiveness of that kind of strategy in general, or you can even take it on like certain moral terms, you know, like at what point do you cross the line into profitability, you know, with that stuff. And the amount of energy that those Instagram ads or whatever that they put through just to sell a piece of bullshit. It's so much. It's like, for every 1,000,000 impressions that they do, they sell one piece of crap. But whereas sometimes when little old Danny just puts like, hey, I made a doorstop. Would you like to buy it for $5? Sometimes my one impression is worth 2 doorstops. And it's you know, it shows you how ineffective that whole model is, you know?
You know, I like your doorstops. I'm thinking I want one for myself. I've got a therapist who needs one. I've got my osteoporosis specialist could use one as well. Thank you very much. That'd be great. That's an osteopath.
Yeah.
And my daughter and her partner, they could both use doorstops. They have a 2-bedroom.
My lesbian daughter could use a doorstop.
My advice is even if you...
I haven't spoken to my lesbian daughter in 15 years because I don't approve of her lifestyle. maybe I'll try and rekindle things by giving her a doorstop. I don't know.
You know what? Because I'm telling her, let's open the door. Let's open the door.
Let's open the door, dude. And that's the funny thing. It's like you could make so much on doorstops. There's so many. There's so many ends of wood, pieces of wood that just otherwise go in the scrap bin. You cut a nice, what is that? Like you cut a nice 160-degree angle in that. You get one of these. That's like a 20-degree angle.
Oh yeah.
You put some paste wax on it so it has some protection on it, a nice little rubber base. I got a $20 doorstop for you, my friend, made of walnut. It's going to be great.
Juicy.
Well, speaking of $20 walnut doorstop, these are the Deutsche Bank executives responsible for serving Jeffrey Epstein.
Woo!
They kept the door open for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's important just to first and foremost just say these people's names because someone at the New York Times was appropriate enough to actually to reveal the names of the people. Jan Ford.
Oh yes.
Jan Ford is the only person who is still at Deutsche Bank who is dealing with Jeffrey Epstein's finances. The bank's head of compliance in the Americas, Paul Morris, who had previously helped manage the Epstein account. Before he was at Deutsche Bank when he was at J.P. Morgan. There's also Charles Packard, who's the head of the bank's American Wealth Management Division. Then there's someone named Stuart Clark. He's the chief operating officer for the Americas. Someone else was Michael Chepiga, acting general counsel for the Americas. Let's just say those people's names because basically what happened recently was the New York Department of Financial Services fined Deutsche Bank $150 million.
That's right.
For dealing with Jeffrey Epstein, having him be their clients. And basically, the authorities did not demand that they reveal the names, and Deutsche Bank they declined to publicly identify any of the individuals involved.
Is there any other institution that does that, David? When like an individual breaks a law, their institution protects them from having to be outed publicly and might even transfer them to another parish.
I want to say that I think I know what you're talking about, Gabe. And yes, they are the Catholic Church very much is involved. I don't know. Yes.
Well, yeah, but it's there's like laws for us as individuals, and then there's like a separate set of laws for institutions is what we're looking at here.
Right. And there's like a legal principle where like if you are doing something while you are doing your job, you cannot be held like personally liable for it. But this is kind of going a step beyond that, where it's like your reputation cannot even be held personally liable. So like if Danny were doing his job and he got into a bike accident and he hurt somebody and the person sued him, he would probably not be liable for it as long as he was doing his job, and his employer would probably be on the hook for Danny's accident, right? But this is a different thing. This is like, we are not even going to hurt someone's reputation. It's a very, very, it's a much bigger step, right? And keep in mind, Deutsche Bank, these people all got new jobs. They all, a few, like I said, Jan Ford's the only one who's there, but Mr. Morris, he went to Merrill Lynch. Mr. Packard joined Bridgewater Associates, which is probably by many people's standards like the most successful hedge fund in the world. So if we look at the assets under management for Deutsche Bank, they have $780 billion in assets under management, and really 100.
My God.
Yeah, and no tip. And so they so 150 million is really not a whole lot. But really but Bridgewater has this fund that Packard went to, $138 billion assets under management, and people just worship Bridgewater. Like, we really need to do an entire episode on Bridgewater. It is one of the weirdest hedge funds in the entire world. They have like this weird culture of called like radical honesty, where they'll just like
this sounds like a relationship thing.
Dude.
I don't like your face, the way you chew your creamed spinach. It's unnerving, and your shoes are 3 years out of style.
Yeah, they're
Get
ugly.
rid of those loafers. They're terrible. They make me nauseous, frankly.
And like that's
Let's
just like
make
the
this guy a
CEO.
partner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just like the CEO just like calling his mother, and she's like, "You're not at work, Ray. You can't say that to me." And he's like, "Sorry, I'm just used to this lifestyle. I can't." So basically, but really like focusing on Deutsche Bank, which it's a very common thing for to not publicly release the names of these things, because you really want to have like there's basically this idea that this was an accident, that we were dealing with Jeffrey Epstein, and this is kind of a faceless institution. This is like a purely transactional thing. And if you have specific people, especially such high profile people like the head of compliance in the Americas, who is known to have been dealing with Jeffrey Epstein, and like 4 other like C-suite people who were like face to face dealing with Jeffrey Epstein and or deciding whether to continue to deal with Jeffrey Epstein and continuing it after learning the facts, that would absolutely just change the way that people understand banking. And it really it's like cop unions. Like, you don't want to reveal, they're all out to like kind of protect each other in kind of the same way. And I'm not Catholic, so I can't really speak on the Catholic Church.
And none of these people have lost anything doing this. They've all fallen up, or gotten cushy deals in parallel companies, and none of them had to cancel their Hulu subscriptions. They haven't lost a dollar.
No, nothing. All the money is being paid for, by the way, by shareholders, right? Like, when they're
that's the funniest part. Like, they're being completely what do you call it, cushioned, or they're the parachute. Like, when I was reading the article that the New York Times put out on that, I was like, what the fuck what are you talking about? It's going to shareholders. You have $800 billion under management, and it's the shareholders are paying for it.
Yeah.
What? That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, these people, like, okay, so here's one person. So basically, here's one quote. Despite Mr. Epstein's conviction in 2008 of soliciting prostitution from a minor and widespread press coverage of his involvement with underage girls,
that's a yikes. That's a yikes from me, friend.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Morris in 2013 introduced Mr. Epstein to his Deutsche Bank bosses as, quote, a potential client who could generate millions of dollars of revenue as well as leads for other lucrative clients to the bank. I mean,
oh my God,
it's amazing that. I mean, it's absolutely stunning that these people would have no consequences whatsoever. I mean, again, now this guy has a new job. He's at Merrill Lynch. He's a private wealth advisor, just like living his dream.
Yeah, I mean, these people, I don't know how to particularly articulate this in like a perfect way, but like, it really just makes you think like people are just going to be out for blood even more now, you know? It's like, the more this stuff piles up and the more like these like very obvious, not even trying to hide it, like crimes against humanity happens, and people just get away with this stuff over and over and over again. It's just like, what does that do? What does that do to the society's psyche?
Yeah.
Where it's like we are like the news media is all just like, oh my God, could you believe these QAnon people? You know, like, can you believe what they're talking about? And it's just sort of like, you guys won't punish pedophiles. What did you think was gonna happen? Come on.
I mean, or you're not gonna punish their financiers or people who are just turning the other cheek on this stuff. You know, I mean, like, so Mr. Morris and Mr. Packard met with Epstein in his East 71st Street mansion in January of 2015 and asked him, quote, about the veracity of the recent allegations. No one took notes. The bank told regulators.
Also, it's so, hey, how about I just say no?
Yeah.
Did you do this? No. Are you sure? Absolutely.
I don't know, boss. He said he didn't do it. What's the matter?
So after they've, yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just, I mean, this is straight up mob stuff. Like don't take notes. Like they just watched The Godfather before they went to this meeting. I can't.
Also, I wanna let you know right now. I just turned my phone sideways so I could use the calculator in its like long mode.
Okay.
And 150 million is approximately like what is that? 28,125th of 800 billion. So they lost 1/28,000th of their wealth by dealing with Jeffrey Epstein, and 1/28,000th of their wealth is $150 million.
And the money was paid for by the shareholders,
the stockholders and the shareholders.
So these are people who like probably just like own like a sliver of a mutual fund, who
just a
which
little
is invested,
a little teeny part.
Yeah, which is like invest. So this is just like a normal person probably has like a sliver of a mutual fund which is invested in part in Deutsche Bank, and so that just like was just like slivers of a penny that was chipped away once again at like normal people's retirement accounts instead of these folks who 8 days after the visit to Mr. Epstein's mansion, a bank committee charged with vetting transactions that posed risks to the bank's reputation held a meeting. It was chaired by Stuart Clark, Michael Chepiga. Other entities included Michael Chepiga and Miss Ford. The compliance executive who had joined the bank just 1 week earlier. The committee concluded that it was comfortable with quote comfortable with things continuing with Mr. Epstein, according to an email that a committee member sent Mr. Packard. One committee member noted a number of sizable deals recently, according to the consent order. In other words, the relationship was making money for Deutsche Bank. Woo!
It's oh, I love it. Yeah, this shit is wild. You know, I'm not sure. I know in the article they shouted out this wonderful name. This guy, John Coffey Jr.
Oh yeah,
John, fantastic name,
famous guy,
Mr. Yeah, Dr. Java over here. He has a book coming out, Corporate Crime and Punishment: The Crisis of Under Enforcement. I guess it's coming out like in a couple weeks. I promise you, after I finish The Power Broker, that one's going right in the audiobook library, and I will be listening to that bad boy, because people, I don't know if I can think of a super notable, super recent book that talks about how much banks, financiers, et cetera, just get away with paying so little. So little.
Well, you know where you find out about that stuff? On this little podcast called Ponzi Scream. Folks.
Oh yeah, that's
Folks.
right. That's right.
So on top of that, after that happened, or after that story came out, this was 4 days ago. Turned out that investors were suing Deutsche Bank and its CEO in the wake of the Epstein fine. So basically, the whole thing is basically the investors are suing Deutsche Bank for not following the rules for their compliance procedures and sorts of things that are just kind of, you know, the pedophile tracker that all banks should have, right?
Yeah, I mean, it could be like a thing with how we have credit reports. You need to get your credit score examined by a company, a reputable company, if you want to rent an apartment. Mm-hmm. Maybe if you want to work with a bank like this, they do a little run, a background check, and if pedophilia is in your background, maybe that's like a red flag or like a ding.
Yeah, just a ding. FreeCreditReport.com.
He should have gone to FreeCreditReport.com.
I mean, like, remember,
Yeah.
like people who are like deep fans of the show Ponzi Scream know that when we had Daniel J. Parafan on the show to talk to us about kind of more pedestrian money laundering activities and how to get away with them,
Yeah.
there are procedures just for run of the mill, like I'm like laundering my weed dealing business through a small bit, like a laundromat that I started or whatever. Like there are procedures for all that stuff, but when there's allegations and private settlements of pedophilia and sex trafficking, and then all of a sudden you don't, then Deutsche Bank is like, it's so much. We're gonna.
It's above my pay grade. What can I say?
I don't know. Yeah, my hands are tied on this one. I can't. I just gotta let him. Seems like a nice guy. So the investors in Deutsche Bank sued Deutsche Bank for a lot of things, right? So because of its lack of anti-money laundering compliance and deficiencies in its disclosure and some procedures for its financial reporting, it has one of the lowest gradings offered by the Federal Reserve. And then they just basically, they're suing them for lying, for failing to remediate deficiencies to its AML, failing to properly monitor customers that the bank itself deemed to be high risk. And yeah, I mean, all this stuff is just, okay, the investors are clapping back, right? They're kind of saying, hey, this is bad. This is hurting their reputation. And they were suing the CEOs, but none of the CEOs that are in it were actually named people to have been dealing with Epstein. Like Jan Ford is not in this lawsuit. Okay, this is just some other folks.
Dude, how annoying! These guys are catching flack for things that they didn't do.
Right. They were just like, all I was doing was just bribing a Supreme Court justice to step down, so that we could appoint a conservative Supreme Court replacement. Like they were just doing normal stuff. Just
regular shit.
Yeah.
I don't think it. I mean, I think if you pay attention to any kind of finance in general, Deutsche Bank shouldn't be a unknown name because this is just like you said, David, like this is one of the litany of things that they have basically been caught red-handed doing.
Mm-hmm.
Probably one of the more notable things besides this being just kind of being one of the banks that you saw a lot of in The Big Short. They were absolutely complicit in everything that happened with the 2008 crisis.
Yeah, I mean, it's paid more than $9 billion in fines since 2008, according to the New York Times. They just do a lot of naughty stuff, manipulating interest rates, failing to prevent money laundering, evading sanctions on Iran, and other countries engaging in fraud. Just like, why not? Just like throw that in there. Like they were just like, oh yeah, and we funded the Taliban. Like who knows? Just like put another thing. Just like throw it in there. We are running like the independent state of Somaliland. Like who knows? They're just. So that's all happening, and then, this morning something else happened with this investor lawsuit. The judge who is in charge of the investor lawsuit, who just got put on her docket 4 days ago, Judge Esther Salas.
Jesus Christ, that's an 18th century name. Go on.
Esther. Someone invaded her home and shot and killed her 20-year-old son and injured very seriously her husband. So what? Like, are you fucking kidding me? And remember, this is the judge that is like engaged in a class action lawsuit by the shareholders suing the bank that financed Jeffrey Epstein. Okay, so this is this is not the judge that is dealing with Gasoline Maxwell. This is not the judge who is in charge with the late Jeffrey Epstein himself. This is a very, very, like a pretty removed thing. But she got attacked and raising a lot of questions.
What type of questions? Why is this fishy?
Like, what? I mean, it's just...
Well, you know, violence, I mean, we live in a violent society. There's a lot of gunplay out there. I don't know if the son owed somebody $20. I don't know. Maybe it was a jealous, who knows what the husband could have been having some shady dealings himself. You know, this is just a judge, right?
Yeah. Spell it out for us, David.
Well, you think that it's like, okay, the judge who is in charge with a lawsuit that is handling the accountability of the financiers of Jeffrey Epstein.
So this is like a follow the money type thing.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like, there's the whole thing of like, okay, you see the incentive and you see the action. It's like, how can you not want to connect the dots? Right?
Cui bono. Cui bono.
Gabe just shook the camera. It was a very dun dun dun. I'm gonna have to, dude. We're gonna get some new sound effects for this episode. It's gonna be great.
New sound effects.
Mm-hmm.
You want to make those connections because there is such an erosion of trust of our institutions generally, completely, especially in relation to the Jeffrey Epstein case. Anything that relates to him, people are just like every single publication, I think, except for Reuters, I've seen, has called it a suicide. We all know, or like an alleged suicide even, but like everyone knows it wasn't a suicide.
Dude, this is another thing. They never call him a pedophile. They always call him a disgraced financier. What? He's not. He didn't suicide himself because he was disgraced. He was murdered for unknown reasons, but mostly because of the teenage sex ring that he had going on.
You know who's a disgraced You know who's a disgraced financier? The person who was banking with the pedophile and sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. That would be a disgraced financier. But he is not, like, just because he was paying someone and blackmailing someone to do something does not make him a financier. Like, Al Capone was not a disgraced financier, but he had a lot of money. Like, I mean, it's just ridiculous. So, yeah, I mean, like, there's just so much mistrust about this stuff. That
you know who's a disgraced financier? The god himself, Bernie Madoff. That's a fucking disgraced financier right there. You know? That guy, he's disgraced as all hell, all right? And it's because he was his finances were shady AF, okay? That's it. That's it.
He was a disgraced financier. I don't know who else is a disgraced financier. Like Joe Lieberman, maybe. There's a few others.
I'll throw him into that.
Yeah, I don't know. But like, so I think that we don't trust these institutions and anything affiliated with this case, okay? But the person who has been pinned to have killed this judge's son, seemingly not related to the Jeffrey Epstein case, okay? A man named Roy Den Hollander, okay? He is an anti-feminist activist and lawyer who law enforcement says shot and killed this judge's son. He dressed up like a FedEx driver and shot this 20-year-old kid home from college. Okay, this guy, one of the most like psychotic people I've ever seen. Just one of the scariest. Like, if you look at his website, it looks like it's from 1996. He has his website says roydenhollander.com, and then anti-feminist lawyer is what he says on the top of his website. Okay, this man, all he does is just sue people to try and be like a men's rights activist. In 2011 he sued a nightclub, I think, to end ladies' night at a nightclub.
I get that. Ladies' night is unfair. It's also buy one get one free. Ladies' night annoying.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your Honor, if there is going to be a ladies' night, there has to be a corresponding night where dudes rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, he's like, Your Honor, I just want to present to the record of evidence, women be shopping.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane.
I have the stats to prove it. I have the stats.
Yeah. I'm going to go to our key witness, Bernie Mac.
Okay, so I like.
Oh,
he was
kick
all
it! Bum, 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 bum. I'm sorry. I had to do it so I could add in the soundbite. Go ahead.
He does that. He also tried to start a class at the University of South Australia on men's rights activism. I mean, the man is just all over the place. Probably the most disturbing thing is that he also wrote jokes. So scary. I mean, just like,
dude,
yeah,
that's the linchpin. That's the linchpin.
This
He
guy
thought he was a comic.
This guy
he thought he was a
has-
comic.
I mean, this guy has 13 pages of like essentially sexist knock jokes. And if
Hell
they're not-
yeah. And he tried them at the open mic at the Stress Factory.
Yeah. It's just like, it's just like, oh, I've seen you at Broadway Comedy Club at 4 p.m. on a Tuesday, I'm sure.
You know what the greatest irony of this is just the fact that there is this attack on this in the moment very prominent judge that is so sketchy that it absolutely reeks of conspiracy. But there is a chance that this is honestly and truly just a fucking oddball.
Yeah.
And because it is just lines up so perfectly, there is a remote chance that this event prevented another actual assassination from happening, because it's just like the CIA or whoever's actually doing it, just like, God damn it, it's too hot now. It's too hot. We can't go through with we can't go through with it. It's
Sure.
still obvious. It's terrible. I mean, a 20-year-old is dead because of it.
Yeah.
But it's I mean,
the guy's clearly like deranged, right? Like this guy just is so mentally unstable. He like just got roasted on the Colbert Report, and he like kept that clip of him getting roasted on his website. I mean, the man is all over the place, and he wrote this memoir that he left online. He called Judge Salas a lazy and incompetent Latina judge appointed by Obama. Referring to a 2015 case Salas presided over, Hollander said he wanted to ask the judge out, but thought she might hold me in contempt.
This is so, I mean, for lack of a better word, this is so extra. He's just shitting. It's like he's just shitting his pants.
So he had a 1,700-page screed of his memoirs, self-published. Talks about how he hates his mom and other women, enraged about women judges, fantasizing about violent rape of another judge who presided over his divorce case. Okay, his previous marriage, when he got divorced, basically he was married to allegedly this woman who was the former mistress to a Chechen warlord, money launderer, and drug smuggler.
All right,
just
now
a real trad wife.
Yeah, we're bringing Chechnya into this. Awesome. That's tight, man.
Dude,
I love it.
There's always a Russia gate, man. It all goes back to Robert Mueller, baby. I mean, it is just one of the weirdest things. So I mean, there's a thought that maybe like the CIA is now just like, okay, we're not going to touch this. We have to let this alone.
Mm-hmm.
There's another thing where it could be both, right? Wherein the CIA hired this guy to do this thing, right? There's that theory. And then there's also just the theory like this is a freak fucking coincidence because this man is insane. And frankly, he would like this is not the judge you would go after if you were trying to protect Jeffrey Epstein and, Ghislaine Maxwell or even really Deutsche Bank. Like, well, maybe Deutsche Bank, I guess. But, like, you would, it's so removed in some ways.
Go on, David. Describe which judge we should assassinate. Go on.
It's like this was, and also the lawsuit was filed 4 days ago. I mean, they would have to have gotten their act together so quickly that they would have had to get this assassination together to have it be aligned with it. I don't know.
I think most assassinations, like a wedding takes like 9 months to plan or whatever. It's like a good assassination.
all right.
You gotta put like 2 or 3 weeks into it. You can't. It's not a 4-day slapdash, wham bam, thank you, ma'am event. It's there's logistics.
Yeah. How long did it take? Well, no, I think old guy who killed Kennedy.
Lee Harvey Oswald.
At least I think it took him. He had it in his mind for a while. He wanted he had it going. He was training with that gun for a little while.
What was his?
Yeah.
What was his like alleged motive? Was there ever one figured out? Did anyone ever?
Lee Harvey Oswald. The actual situation is that oh wait, no, that's who actually killed Kennedy.
Yeah, I mean, people say it was the mob. People say it was the CIA.
There's a lot going on there. I will say now, though, as I think a podcast I listened to, last podcast on the left. Right now, we got a lot of high strangeness in the air going on.
Mm-hmm.
We got a lot of weird coincidence, what have you, in the air.
Yeah, and I don't usually like coincidences are usually bullshit. Like it's just absolute, especially anything surrounding this. But the more you look at the facts of this situation, how could somebody plot like to have this judge assassinated or threatened to the point of it like being so afraid within a 4-day time frame, find this person and then get this plot all together? It seems a little far-fetched. Whereas like Jeffrey Epstein killing himself is incredibly far-fetched, and so it makes me not think that it is related. Gabe, what do you think? You're quiet.
I think it feels completely unrelated. Because the guy just seems like someone who hates women, and he's a lawyer, and what's more high status in his field would be a judge. And so to find a judge who's a woman is just like his mother. And even if he didn't kill her, to kill the men in her life, in a way, would be wiping away the placeholders and getting himself closer to her. So
how do you know so much about this mindset?
Replacing the husband and son with himself.
You seem really versed in this sort of mindset.
Yeah, Gabe.
Really
Yeah.
It's textbook. I watch a lot of Mindhunter. I am an armchair forensic psychologist.
An armchair.
I turned down the FBI and Quantico for a lucrative job as a third mic on a podcast.
Like, this is what you do when like the Fed is just like giving out trillions of dollars to corporate America. There's no there's no accountability for the rich, and people are just like dying and starving all at once. And there's like two senile people running for the presidency. One of them is like an absolute psychopathic maniac. And the other one just wants to stick ice cream up his nose and hang. But like they
I just want Joe Biden. Joe Biden wants to hang. He loves it.
Yeah. And like props to him, dude. That's chill. But like when you like, what do you expect us to do but just constantly be coming up with conspiracy theories when things like this happen? Like, I don't understand how anyone can still just follow the facts as they are, given everything that we've seen and witnessed and felt these past like 5 years, 10 years. They're just, how could people still trust these institutions? So,
I mean, people, it's like it's weak America as it is. I mean, it seems like weak and pathetic and whatever to us, but like, I don't know. A lot of people at the end of the day, they're just sort of like, hey man, we got to get together. We're all in this world and get through this. Like platitudes will push people a long way. I do think those things do fall short once people stop being able to get groceries. But and I mean, clearly it's obvious that like just the anti-maskers that are going on right now, the fit that they're throwing just by being asked to not pass on the coronavirus, you can see that's like the inverse. That's like the inverse of it. People will take a lot of bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, like, do you guys? I mean, I don't know. It's maybe I live in like a bubble or something like that, but I just don't even really know anyone who doesn't like. Even my dad, who's just kind of a normal trad dude, is just like, oh yeah, Epstein absolutely killed himself. I mean, absolutely did not kill himself. Excuse me, like
did not kill himself. Yeah.
I mean, there's just like no, I don't know.
Well, I think most people don't. If something's outside of the realm of your immediate power, or then you don't care that much. Like, what do we really care about? We care about getting laid. We care about finishing the Last Dance Michael Jordan documentary on Netflix. We care about making sure that we get enough sleep before work tomorrow and getting our workout in.
Oh, yeah.
Like, so within that, you go, where do I actually have power? It's like in God's hands, even whether or not we're all gonna die from coronavirus. So I think there's this nihilism of, okay, well, we gave up three months of our lives to be indoors, and what can we really like? Epstein is so outside of what people are even thinking about right now, because they don't know if the stimulus checks are going to be re-upped at the end of July.
But there is something that is like a little bit like I mean, like this like incompetency of like our institutions. There is like a little bit of a silver lining to that, and that is just like how the Alabama Republican Party is choosing its candidates.
You mean the cream of the crop, the most qualified? It's a meritocracy.
The biggest boys.
The most Crimson Tide.
So the guy who just won the Alabama primary against Jeffrey Beauregard is this guy, the former college football coach Tommy Tuberville. Okay, and he was
Mr. Tube.
He was at Auburn University, but then he also went to Cincinnati, and I think he also went a few other places. But he also did a brief stint as a co-owner of a hedge fund. Okay, just like you do. I mean, this really like goes to like in a lot of these deep red states. If you are a coach of a successful college sports team, you are maybe one of the most powerful people in the entire state.
Oh, absolutely. Unquestioned power, especially if it's a state that does not have a formal football team. Alabama, there's no Alabama team. It's all college stuff.
Right.
Yeah, I have to say too, I've heard in the national media, like, Doug Jones, who knows what's going to happen, whether or not he faces Tommy Tuberville or Jeff Sessions. This was before Tommy Tuberville won the Republican primary. But I had no fucking idea that he was partially in charge of a goddamn hedge fund. How could people just not mention this?
So
that's huge.
According to the New York Times, Mr. Tuberville and this guy who was at Lehman Brothers named John David Stroud, and we all know and love Lehman Brothers.
Love them.
This guy was a former broker there. They entered into a 50-50 partnership, and they met, and they just kind of entered into this. Oh God, where do my notes go on this? By a fundraiser for the Auburn athletic department, became friends. They went on a family trip to Jamaica, and he was investing. Then soon, Mr. Tuberville left Auburn. He was investing money with Mr. Stroud. But the thing is what it seems like is that Mr. Stroud kind of swindled the dude a little bit. Like, he kind of went in, but what ended up happening was this hedge fund got sued. They all lost money. Someone said that it had the optics of a Ponzi scheme, according to court records. And he lost a lot of money. Like, so basically, in March 2012, the CFTC filed a complaint against Mr. Stroud, saying that he defrauded nearly $5 million from at least 17 investors. And in one of his ventures with Tuberville, the TS Capital Fund, not only had he racked up trading losses of nearly $1.2 million, he had misappropriated nearly $2.3 million, using it for car payments, travel expenses, entertainment, and retail purchases, false accounting statements, tax records. I mean, all this stuff, we all hear it before. Just spending it on trad stuff, normal ass, like, cars and trips.
Time to get a boat. Time to get a fucking boat, man.
Always
also,
do the same thing.
Dude, that is what you just described is what a well early. I don't know if either of you have ever had an experience like this, but like going on a fucking co-family vacation, both of your families just go to Jamaica to get, like, my family would never put that burden on another family. if we fucking went to camping, to the tropics, anything, it's just gonna be us. Why would you ever? The only way I could ever see that happening if it was like a wedding, That's what a horrible burden to put on another family.
I'm into it, dude. I'm into tribes. I'm into building. Yo, dude, you got to find like-minded people. Maybe have it be like a key party, couple, like wife swapping thing.
Mm-hmm.
You keep it from the kids, but I mean, how else people are going into different people's cabins at night.
I knew we were going to get into a swingers mode. I knew that. I was like, this, and it's because it feels that way. Why would you?
You know it's cheaper. You can rent a chalet on the beach in Bali for for whatever, how many, 8, 10 bedrooms. Have three couples and their kids come.
Gabe, I want to come. This sounds awesome.
Dude, everybody in the tribe has a brand, a little tattoo.
Dude, the difference between your attitudes about group family vacations is like probably very clearly a financial one. Like, Gabe is going to Bali with microchips in your wrists, staying at like an all-included resort. I mean, Danny, were you just
you make the resort yourself.
Danny was probably just like, oh yeah, we're driving to Yosemite with the Jensens in like a VW.
Right.
It's like
everybody
it's a
the
3-day
Jensens
weekend
are on
trip,
our laps.
Dude, look, it absolutely reeks of me and my family going to Central Washington to go cross-country skiing because my parents do not want to pay for downhill skiing.
Hell yeah, dude.
when I'm like 8 years old, I'm a child just desperately trying to find any hill so I can just whee down on these like overly long skis.
There was no reprieve from the horizontal death.
Yeah.
Cross-country skiing, just like muted thrills for the taste.
Muted thrills. Muted thrills.
A gentle slope, nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
So I mean, look, Tommy Tuberville, he either was like deliberately involved in this corrupt hedge fund, got in a lot of trouble. He got people, a lot of people lost a lot of money. But his lawyer is basically saying that he was a victim himself. It was bad judgment that he got in bed with a guy who was a crook, quote. Being naive is not a crime. Which makes me think, like, if you're an Alabama Republican, would you, and I genuinely mean this question, like, jump inside the mind of one of these Trump Republicans in Alabama, would you rather have a stooge or a crook?
Oh, I mean, look, I everybody loves a stooge from a position of executive authority where they have some powers, but like you don't want them be able to be able to touch the nuclear codes.
Yeah.
A crook is going to give you wonderful return investments, or at least attempt that.
I feel like if you're a GOP Republican, you want to actually be like, no, I did this. I was the mastermind behind this, and they would love that. You don't want to come across as like a victim, as a loser, as like a cuck to this hedge fund guy. Like the lawyers has real, like, they may be dealing. They just have the completely wrong strategy, in my opinion, for the Alabama Republican Party.
Yeah, they could just be like, he outsmarted him, as if to imply, hey, this Tommy guy, he's real smart. But you know what? Some people, they got God on their side, and they're just they're real geniuses when it comes to it.
Yeah.
No, I actually, though, I will retract part of my statement and say that some people can be brilliantly and blindingly smart, but still blinded by their own hubris. Like,
that would have been a really funny thing, Tommy Tuberville's lawyer, to say, is like, he was too smart. That's
hey man, hey man, I was too smart. What can I say?
So okay, but listen to this. So the lawyers for the plaintiffs in public court filings called it, quote, a sad irony that one of the escorts that this hedge fund manager Stroud frequented performed more due diligence on Stroud than Tuberville did, adding, she asked for references, confirmed contact numbers and websites, and refused to meet him until he provided the information she required.
Dude, a background check. Think about that. I want to rent an apartment. I have to go through a stringent background check.
Yeah.
Right? If you want to go and hang out with an escort, she's gonna breathalyze you. She's gonna take your fingerprints. You're gonna get a retina scan. You're gonna get a COVID test. You're gonna get an antibodies test. But if you want to give $20 million to Deutsche Bank, they will interview you behind closed doors with no records kept.
Yeah, and they'll be like, they'll do one of these. They'll just be like, you cool? Like,
yeah.
No. Also, yeah.
I mean, that's literally what Tommy Tuberville did, right? Like,
dude, this is Comcast. This is like what I call Comcast Theory 101, where the reason Comcast had those giant cable boxes for decades. Meanwhile, Apple is coming up with new versions of phones, and newer, and it's just because they have that direct competition with Samsung. This fucking guy, yeah, sure, he's a great football coach for Auburn. Meanwhile, every other aspect of his life is so untested, so unbattle worn, that when a fucking snake comes up to him and just goes like, hey, you want to be part of a hedge fund? He's just like walking in there like fucking Mr. Magoo, like, oh boy, nothing bad's going to happen here. That's Mickey Mouse, but you get what I'm saying. You know? Like, I don't know why I did Mickey, but
I was with you until you fucked up that Mr. Magoo impression. I mean, Jesus, that's it's unforgivable.
I know.
But I mean, look, it's insane that he would just not do the due diligence on it. But again, what do you fucking expect, I guess, with these people? You just can't, these people cannot be relied on. But I will say who can be relied on is escorts. Clearly have like a completely like robust compliance procedure. Like they
brilliant. Beautiful. They're beautiful. Brilliant, beautiful people.
They're like anti-money laundering.
Beautiful.
They're like anti-money laundering. They're corporate disclosure practices. They like probably like register with the Commodities Future Trading Commission. Like they got everything in lockdown.
Look, we love our beautiful. We have the most beautiful escorts in all of the world. All right. Beautiful.
Anyone who does not think that sex work is real work at this point needs to have a chat with this one, who clearly has just like some of the best human resources officers on deck.
I know. Make them the screeners for everything.
Yeah.
Everything. They would be so good at it. They're just like, it's again, look, did Tommy Tuberville lead Auburn to a complete and total victory during the 2004, 2006 college football year? Yeah, sure, great. Don't let him touch anything over a fucking Chipotle family order check. It's not to be considered. The man. And realistically, he will probably beat Doug Jones. Everybody has Doug Jones basically clinging on for dear life. And if he stays in the Senate this November, it will be because Trump lost, if that makes any sense. So yeah.
Okay, so the Alabama Democrats, actually, they're doing some good work though, I gotta say. They sent out a series of tweets in relation to Tommy Tuberville right after he won. I'm just gonna read them to you one after the other. He lost his last Iron Bowl 36-0, collects millions of dollars in pension money from hardworking Alabamians, and bilked investors based on their trust in his investment advice.
Perfect.
Doug's gonna run you through like Fred Talley at an 11 a.m. Jefferson Pilot game. No idea.
Dude, that might as well have been Swiss. I don't what is that?
Next one. Tommy Tuberville said he'd leave Ole Miss, quote, in a pine box. Days later, he left for Auburn. Never told his players goodbye. At Auburn, he had a wandering eye every year. At Texas Tech, he ditched a recruit during dinner to leave for Cincinnati. Wonder who he's lying to now. This person needs a promotion. This is great,
dude. I love I caught something while you were saying that. What they're having like a fun little teammate dinner, dude. These guys are still on they're interacting like antebellum slavery times. It was like, if you leave during a dinner, that is the biggest disregard that you can have for a person.
This guy gets but this Twitter account gets that culture though. We don't. Yeah. Clearly, these tweets are not for us, and that's great. What I like about it is that I don't understand it, because Senate races should not be catered to we three kings of East Coast, blue states. This is not what it's all about. This is all about whoever these people are, and whatever Fred Talley means. I don't know. Is that like an Austin? Is that like an Austin Powers word for a penis? I don't really know.
My Fred Talley.
Senator Jones got justice for 4 little girls murdered during church by the Klan. Tommy Tuberville thought a 1-game suspension was enough when one of his players raped a little girl. Which one cares more about your daughter's future? Alabama Democrats tweet: You scared of your own shadow? You scared of your own shadow? Can an incumbent Democratic senator win in a red state? Us, ready to storm hell with a super soaker. Tuberville couldn't score a TD for 2 weeks with his four first rounders on his offense. He also lost to Vanderbilt. #1 Alabama.
Alabama, dude. Alabama's a weird place. It's home of Huntsville, which is where all of rocket science basically developed in the 1960s and stuff. Coincidentally, also where a lot of Nazi scientists, after they were taken in from the United States program to get all the rocket science from them.
You can get great strudel there.
Yeah, you can. Excellent. Alabama's a weird place. And you know what? God bless. I don't personally favor Doug Jones, but we'll see what happens.
Oh, no, his politics align with mine perfectly. Just everything about him. He's
everything. Yeah, everything perfectly.
Yeah, he's basically AOC, but better because yeah. No, I mean, but I gotta respect the social media account for the specificity and for them just going full guns against little Tommy Tubes.
It's the least Pete Buttigieg thing I've ever seen. It's
yeah, exactly. Petty
grievances. And honestly,
yeah. Pete Buttigieg was clearly made for wealthy blue staters to like him, and those tweets are not. So God bless. I don't know. What else do you guys want to say? Anything? Should we go? Do you guys have any other thoughts?
Only other thing I have is, I think, Gabe, you'll probably like this. My friend Carrie sent me this like Spanish tuna in this nice can. So like, I don't know. I feel
Bonito del Norte. Yeah,
I don't
man.
know. It looks cool.
Crack that open in the common space of your apartment and just bask in the aroma.
Yeah.
Everyone will love it.
What's it smell like?
Yeah. I haven't opened it yet, but the can is beautiful, and you know that I'm keeping it after I'm done with everything.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna put trinkets in it. So yeah, everybody, be careful out there. Make sure that if you're gonna order ice cream over an app, just don't do that, and don't you dare fucking order a goddamn root beer float from Shake Shack, which I've also delivered. It's impossible. It's impossible.
Folks, go out and just think of the most esoteric and ephemeral thing to get delivered, and specifically request Danny Feltz, and it will turn it into a little competition. And whoever, if Danny get but just tip him more. Like get whatever you want. Just like that's the real crime. Who gives a shit about the root beer float? Just give him a big boy tip.
Yeah, I don't mind. I could be bought. Why not?
And so can I, and so can you, listener. We can all be bought. This has been Ponzi Scream. Thanks so much, and good night.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. See you next week.
See you next week.